Steve Jobs is someone that really comes to my mind because just the ability to think so ahead of what the customer really requires. Leadership is really about, can you keep it simple? Can you keep it honest? Can you communicate clearly? You got to have that muscle and ability to sometimes not be liked.
Welcome to another episode of Thought Leadership Thursday by ET Edge Insights. The series features visionary leaders across their sectors as they speak about their transformative journeys and strategies for the future. Watch Thought Leadership Thursday to know more about your favorite business leaders and aspiring professionals. I have with me in this conversation Pranav Haridasan, MD and CEO Axis Securities. Welcome, Pranav.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to host you.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
Can you share a moment where you felt that leadership truly tested you, and how did you navigate from that moment?
I think the hardest for any leader is really to, when you have multiple teams, and many of them sometimes, just because the roles that they play can appear as conflicting, because just think about a compliance and a regulatory role versus the business role. Think of short-term goals versus long-term goal orientations in organizations, right? So all of these have different metrics, because some of them are evaluated in different ways, and making sure that they are aligned to the eventual organizational outcome is something which requires a lot of effort in bringing them together. So that is essentially is always challenging, in whichever organization or parts that I've worked in. So that I think will always be the most challenging part, and it's never going to change.
So Pranav, how do you align your personal life with your professional life?
Yeah, so I think for me it's been I think I've got better at it with time. I think really it's about obviously need to be able to spend quality time at home, and with just being able to switch off completely is difficult in the digital era. So it's something which I need to consciously work on. I can't say that I'm really good at it, but I definitely have improved with time. But I think more importantly, one of the areas that have very strong leverage for me with my own professional career is just focusing on health, playing sport, just getting enough time to exercise and spending time on yourself, right? And I think that has just led to more energy unlocking than I would have otherwise thought. So I think it's very complementary. A lot of people think that one eats into the other. My view has been that it's just given me much, much better outcome and productivity just by finding that time for myself. So yeah, so I don't think it's either or, but there has to be a conscious effort to ensure that you can compartmentalize different things in your life.
And what role does social responsibility play in your leadership style?
I think just as an individual, there are areas which I'm very, very passionate about, and I've always been, so it's not really today. I think over the last 15-20 years, I've been very deeply involved in the education sector. For example, even when I was when I just graduated from university, I used to teach at a school, and I spent time in creating curriculums and things like that. I've also very recently, a couple of years ago, I taught in full course MBA program. It's something which I'm really passionate about, like just the ability, and I think there are some social areas which there's just so many things that we need to be conscious of today. And I think at a personal level, just the environment and just consumption, right, is something which deeply is an area of interest. And so so there are a bunch of things. I think as an organization, we do a lot of work, just through the foundation, which is mostly addressing rural livelihood. So that's another area of interest.
What legacy you hope to leave behind?
It's really about building something that can continue to. A lot of people ask this question, right? But really deep down, what is it that you're trying to do? You want to create something that is really sustainable. People have a great time working in, and it continues to excel, whether an individual is there or not. And I think the fact that we need to focus less on the individuals but create institutions that are really, that can really stand the test of time. That's why so much of this is about culture, mindset, and how do you drive that more than just outcomes. So I think that for me is really creating a culture that sort of stands out and that is sustainable is an area that I specifically spend zero compromise, I think.
Is there any leader who has inspired your style of working?
I mean, I wouldn't say specifically inspired, but there are a lot of leaders that that I've always read about and have been extremely passionate about. I think Steve Jobs is someone that really comes to my mind, because just the ability to think so ahead of what the customer really requires, right? It was, I don't think even the customer understood really what they want, right? I mean, until the time they were told that this is what you're likely to, this is the kind of product that will resonate with you, and it did. So I think his just that vision, which is so far ahead of the rest of them, is something which I draw a lot of inspiration from.
What do you think makes a good leader? What's the idea of a good leader?
I think leadership is really about, I think a bunch of things, but really speaking, it's about, can you keep it simple? Can you keep it honest? Can you communicate clearly? How do you create an environment where, there is an acceptable level of risk and entrepreneurial spirit that can exist? How do you make sure that there is ownership, and how do you create that ownership? How do you create a sense of psychological safety within the organization? I think all of these things truly contribute to a leadership style. And I think it's also, it's difficult because you also have to be a very good listener. You also have to draw answers out of teams, but you also need to be able to make difficult decisions, which which people might not like it all the time. So you got to have that muscle and ability to sometimes not be liked.
Is there any movie, book, or any resource that you have implemented in your life and it has inspired your way of working, and you would recommend it to the aspiring leaders?
No, I'm an avid reader, so there are a lot of books that that I draw inspiration from. But I think specifically from a leadership perspective, I follow Simon Sinek a lot, in terms of his leadership philosophies, and how empathy and and emotional intelligence really needs to drive leadership. So I think that's one individual, and I think all of the things that he talks about, I think, is quite inspirational.
My last question is there any message that you want to give to aspiring leaders?
Honestly, I think it's too, this thing for me to be giving a message, but I must say that, finally, it's a great opportunity to create impact. Just being, just being in that position to be able to drive change and impact, and really being able to think long term and fractionalize that, and being able to segment that into shorter term objectives, and being able to drive that with your teams is challenging, but it's a lot of fun when it comes through. So really, I tell myself this more than to anybody else, that it just requires that patience, resilience, even as you stay agile. But patience is something which personally it's a value that I want to cultivate more of.
Thank you, Pranav, for joining us in this conversation. It was lovely having you.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. For more such insightful videos, keep watching Thought Leadership Thursday by ET Edge Insights. Thank you.